What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Trust the Bank podcast. We have myself and Joshua, and today, it's the start of a long 2 weeks of no Ravens football. We have the bye week this week, so we're going to be recording a couple of podcasts. Please send us more questions. We will definitely talk about those. But the main portion of this podcast is going to be answering those questions from the TTB family. I put out a post on the community page, put out a post on Twitter. Hey, what should we talk about? Anything you want us to, specifically discuss? And Joshua, I'll let you take this first one. This one comes from Twitter. This one comes from Lance. Let's talk about Roquan Smith's debut and how it impacted the defense and the rest of the game from that.
I mean, honestly, we talked about it, getting that linebacker that's for sure tackler. And, you saw it last night. Everywhere the ball was, he was flowing to it. And, him meeting running backs in the middle and, not backing down, especially with Alvin Kamara. He's not known for his physicality. He's more of that shifty type of back, but, he's not no small guy neither. And he just, he just didn't stop. Even when Taysom Hill trucked Marlon Humphrey. I know people going to talk about that, bring that back up, but people don't realize quarterbacks are pretty dang strong. I remember I played outside linebacker back in my sophomore year. They had me run a weak side blitz, and the quarterback put his shoulder down. I went back a couple steps, so anything can happen on any given day. But Roquan Smith was right there to wrap up Taysom Hill, and you saw the influence of Roquan Smith being there just for one game and how it's already, translating for PQ and the way he's flowing to the ball as well. We already knew he was a speedy guy, blow up the plays, get back in the backfield, but he can do that recklessly without always being highly scrutinized because he's going to have that guy to clean up for him. So I love the impact that Roquan is bringing. I mean, he fit right in. It wasn't like he was confused. He did exactly his job. He said, listen, I play football. I'm here to make tackles. And that's exactly what he did last night. So I love the energy that he brought.
Yeah, and something that I bring up a lot when we talk about linebackers is stats are very difficult to gauge. Sometimes the guy that leads the NFL in tackles is not good. I always point to Blake Martinez. Blake Martinez has led the NFL in tackles before, and he did that back when he was playing for the Green Bay Packers. He was the number one linebacker there, and everyone was like, wow, this guy's really good. And it was like, okay, the Packers have the worst run defense in the NFL. The reason why he gets tackles is because everyone gets by him and into that next level. And he's, gets all these chase downs and things like that. I don't hate Blake Martinez. I'm actually a huge fan of his because he went to Stanford. I've always, liked him. But he got a massive contract with the New York Giants. And everyone expected, oh, wow, he's going to put up all these big numbers. And so with Roquan Smith, I knew Roquan Smith was a really good player. I'm not trying to take anything away from that. But it was like, okay, let's see these tackles, right? I knew he was very good, but it seemed like all of his tackles were meaningful, right? I believe he had 5 tackles on the game. I'm going to double check that just in case. He had 5 tackles on the game, 2 solo tackles. One of those solo tackles was on Alvin Kamara on the outside, catches that short route, 1 yard across the line of scrimmage, and Roquan's able to wrap him up and bring him down. That's huge. Those are the types of tackles where you need your, number one linebacker to make. 2 of the other tackles were 2nd and 1 and 3rd and 1 back-to-back plays, stuffing Alvin Kamara. You brought that up, Joshua. And Alvin Kamara, he's very good at getting up the middle of the field. He's very good at those short yardage situations because he is so quick. He's so agile. He's got great balance. And Roquan he hit that block. Made sure he got no extra yardage. Made sure that he was physical. And I want to say the other tackle that I can remember, the other solo tackle was on Chris Olave. Roquan was playing, and Andy Dalton rolled out to the right and was able to hit Chris Olave. And Roquan, I believe, came down and made that tackle. I think that was the other solo tackle. I'd have to rewatch the entire game or if someone has a tackle compilation to be able to figure that one out. But they were meaningful tackles. It wasn't, oh, yeah, he got that tackle and he, maybe it wasn't his, maybe it's 20, 30 yards down the field, or hey, he missed him initially and then he got ran over for 3 yards and brought him down after the first down marker. Those were the tackles he made. They were meaningful, they were impactful, and they were physical. And that's something that I want to bring up, is the physicality, not just of him, but of the entire Ravens defense. That's the way that they have to play. That's Ravens football, and it's even more so now that I feel like they have that identity, and we've talked about that the last few weeks of like, hey, the Ravens are going to go out there and they're going to try and maul you. They're trying, except for Chuck Clark, they're going to try and go out there and hit you out of bounds. They're going to try and hit you, to get that big sack. Like, I feel like they have this mentality of you don't want to play there, right? You don't want to go up against the 2000 Ravens, right? You're going to come out sore. They're not dirty, but they're going to play hard, and they're going to play physical, and they're going to fight to the whistle. And we saw that multiple times in this game. And I feel like that starts with Roquan Smith early in the game, because it's so interesting the way that momentum works. Because imagine if Alvin Kamara gets one of those first downs running the ball. It's like, okay, we're kind of running the ball. We needed the couple yards. But when you try and run the ball in back-to-back plays and short yard situations early in the game and you get stuffed by one player both times, you're like, oh, no, that's not going to work very well. And it just like changes your tactics. They started bringing in Taysom Hill in these short yardage situations, and they're trying to get fancy. They try and run the I don't even know what to call the play, but Taysom Hill steps to the left. The running back, it was basically a counter with Taysom Hill as the decoy, counter run, I guess I could call it. And the Ravens were able to stuff that. And it was like hitting Kamara hard in the middle early in the game on back-to-back plays. That set the tone. The physicality was there. Was there anything else that you noticed, like with the physicality? Like, how did it feel watching the Ravens defense?
You know what? Along with Roquan Smith, he's a leader on this defense, but he's so underrated. The coming back of Calais Campbell played a big factor too. I mean, knowing that if you come on the second level against the Ravens defense, you got some guys that's willing to chase down the quarterback. You got some guys now that's willing to wrap up and tackle these running backs, or the wide receiver thinks he's going to come across the middle and take that slant route. Oh yeah, you got another thing coming. Those guys in the front four, they've been working. And it's funny, that I kept on saying, someone wasn't making it out of New Orleans without a piss test. Instead of Justin Houston, it was Kenyon Drake. But just seeing Justin Houston, JPP, Calais Campbell, Travis Jones get in the mix. We know Justin Madubuike is going to do what he do. And, now, and even Tyus Bowser, putting his hand in the dirt, getting upfield. Those guys in the front four, rotational, they're looking good. Like I said, when you got that core of linebackers, it's getting real overcrowded in that linebacker room. We love that. And when you got some guys in that secondary or in that second line of defense, not too many opposing teams going to run with so many plays. I mean, we saw it last year with the Cincinnati Bengals, with Logan Wilson, Pratt. Those guys were some guys to be feared, So it's like when you got some dogs as linebackers, certain teams ain't not gonna run certain plays. And when we come back, we got Blake. I said Baker Mayfield and Chuba Hubbard and the Panthers. They're not gonna run, but certain they're not gonna run certain plays. I think they're gonna gain a lot of running yards or try to pass through the middle, because we got some guys, especially now with the Roquan Smith, a leader, a two-time Pro Bowler, all-pro guy, in the middle.
Yeah, and the way that Calais Campbell, I like that you brought up Calais Campbell, because he was the highest graded Ravens defender from PFF. I don't love PFF, but they had him as the highest graded player. He always plays so well, and it's so funny that so many Ravens fans are like, oh, he's old, like, let's get out all these other guys on the field. It's like, yo, Calais Campbell dominates every time he's on the football field. Right. And we saw him spear Andy Dalton. Justin Houston hits him one way.
Yeah.
And Calais like lowered. I saw that hit and I was like, yeah, that's the physicality that we need. You know,
you saw how slow you saw how slow he took to get up.
Oh yeah, and it's like, because that's been an issue of the Ravens. They haven't hit quarterbacks hard, and they've been able to get away from the sacks. They've tried this like light wrap up, and it doesn't work. Or they tried like to push him over. It's like, no. Even though it's against the rules, you got to make him hit the ground. You know, you can't drive him into the ground with the force of your body weight. Yep. You got to force him into the ground. You have to make sure that he goes down for that sack. And you want to make them feel it. Because when you hit the quarterback hard, when you hit the running back hard, when you hit a wide receiver over the middle hard, every single time they're in a situation where that could happen again, they're bracing. Maybe the receiver braces over a catch over the middle, they drop it. Or they can't get that extra step because, you know, Roquan or PQ is going to hit him. Alvin Kamara, maybe he's not going to try and juke and cut back, because if he does, he could get hit by a guy like a Roquan Smith.
Yeah.
And then Andy Dalton, if he starts feeling pressure, he's going to be, you know, it may cause him a half a second. And in the quarterback world, a half a second is a very long time. Maybe he doesn't make that throw because he's worried he's going to get hit. You know, he's rather going to take that sack instead, or he's going to try and scramble out of the pocket a little bit sooner because he was just afraid. Maybe he misses a route in his progression. He couldn't get through the progressions. Playing physical disrupts your opponent, especially when you're playing on the road, because they're comfortable.
Yeah.
Everyone's cheering for, like, when you're playing at home, like, it's nice. You know, everyone's cheering for you. You know, when you're calling plays, it's easy. You can hear everyone making those adjustments. I mean, it's really tough when you're playing a really physical team, and you're on the road. Like, playing in Baltimore is going to be really tough because the crowd's going to be going crazy, and you're going to be sore. You're going to be aching. But I feel like Roquan Smith set that tone, and the Ravens just continued with it, and they were physical, and they were big-bodied, and that's exactly what brought him out there. And he played a high percentage of the snaps. I want to say it was about 75% of the snaps he played. He played 76% of the snaps. He's supposed to be out there every play. This was just his first week in the team, and so they took him out in certain packages because they were like, hey, let's not overwhelm the guy. You know, he just got here, but like next game against the Carolina Panthers, he's going to be out there every snap.
Oh, yeah.
And he's going to be patrolling the middle. And I feel like he's going to become a player that is, you know, feared. A player where you're a quarterback or you're a running back and you're lining up looking across that, trench of the offensive lineman, and you go, okay, 18 is there. Where is 18? Okay, he's in the B gap. I'm supposed to run towards the B gap. I'm not going to go to the B gap. I'm going to try and move to a different gap. Like I'm going to try and avoid him. And he set that tone. And I feel like, so the physicality was just unbelievable. I feel like that was huge for the Ravens defense. And I think that carries over to the offense as well. Like when you're playing physical on defense, your offensive linemen are going to be, you know, fired up. Your quarterback's going to be fired up. Your running back's going to be fired up. Your tight ends, everyone.
I agree, man. I mean, I ain't gonna lie. The most consistent play we done got out of our offense is the O-line. But you know, that's another topic for another day. But I do want to ask you a quick question.
Yeah.
Do you feel like Roquan Smith? I know we haven't heard a lot of chatter about Mike McDonald getting him out. I get him away from the defensive coordinator. But with this relationship that he's going to be building with Roquan Smith, do you see the green dot being taken away from Chuck Clark sooner?
I feel like it's possible. I don't know how likely it is that it happens this year, but with the play of Kyle Hamilton recently, Kyle Hamilton played, I want to say 69% of the snaps yesterday, which is huge for him. You know, he's been just increasing all that work, and he played fantastic once again. I don't think he allowed a reception. He made a big hit. You know, he's physical. He's getting tackles. I want to say he may have actually been, he was number 2 on the team in tackles.
Okay.
He went out there. He was physical. I think if Roquan Smith can really get adjusted, we could see him taking over the green dot, which would allow for Kyle Hamilton to get out on the field a little bit more. I do think it's possible, especially if if he plays at the level that he did today. And the benefit is they have the bye week. He's really going to study the playbook. I wouldn't expect it anytime like really soon.
Yeah.
But, maybe, week 14, I think would potentially be the earliest that we could see him take over the mic, because it's tough to take over the mic, especially when you don't get a full off season to train. But if he really takes a step in that leadership role, we could definitely see that happen.
I mean, I just see him, it's like it's an immediate bonding as soon as he got here. I mean, I know people ask PQ, but PQ didn't find no issue with it. That's the good thing about it. We still got Patrick Green on a rookie deal. He's 23 years old. And we got to think about, correct me if I'm wrong. At LSU, he was the will linebacker, and he had Devin White with him.
Ooh, I don't know if he had. He may have had Devin White his freshman year, because I think, he may have had Devin White his freshman year. But I do know he was the will linebacker at LSU.
So now, I mean, we talked about it. We was ready to cut ties with him, but we knew the position that he's been put in. We was trying to make him a Mike linebacker, and right now that's not his style of play. That's not his style of play. So I mean, getting a guy like this, a bulldog UGA guy, that's he's just a dog on the field. I mean, I feel like this can probably be another inch that can get us into the playoffs. Well, right now we currently are in the playoffs. If the season was over, we'd be playing against the Miami Dolphins. But I do feel like with a Roquan Smith now, what happened earlier this season would not happen. I feel like that. I stand on that. I feel like it wouldn't happen.
Yeah, I think we're really going to see how much of a leader he really is, and like how much of a step that he can take. And Mike McDonald has some decisions to make about, how he wants to build his defense in the future, because we have a lot of contract stuff, and we have a lot of, leadership questions as to not about do we have any, but who's going to be the guy. Because I think we have a couple of good candidates. But